I received some emails over the weekend asking me to explain the Bernie to Trump pipeline. In other words, how does someone who at one point supported Bernie Sanders or claimed to end up supporting Donald Trump? I don't know why 6 people emailed me about this over the weekend. Maybe there was it seems like a really specific question that maybe there was some other commentator who talked about it. I don't know. But I'm glad to talk about this because it's something that, in a sense, I've addressed before. It is true that there are some Bernie Sanders supporters, previous Bernie Sanders supporters, who transitioned to Donald Trump. And the way I would characterize their transition would be, what is there in common between supporting Bernie and supporting Trump? Well, what you have in common is an underlying frustration with the political establishment, sometimes interpreted correctly, sometimes misinterpreted, but a perceived frustration with the political establishment. And it all goes back to the populist rhetoric that I've been warning you about for years, can sound good, but can lead people to support elected officials that would do terrible things when it comes to policy. Bernie's campaign resonated with voters because it opposed corporate influence in politics, it opposed economic inequality, it opposed in many ways the status quo. It resonated with, hey, the average person's not getting a fair shake and we need to do something about that. And when Bernie Sanders did not become the Democratic nominee, there were supporters in 2016 and 2020 who felt betrayed and disillusioned with the Democratic Party. And that kind of set them up to say, I'm open to something else. Now, as I've spoken to you about before, populism is primarily a rhetoric. If I say to you, hey, I'm a populist, there is not a specific set of policy ideas there. It's about championing the people, about the elite as some kind of enemy, the details of which really vary. If you listen, as I've said before, if you listen to the populist rhetoric of Bernie Sanders and you listen to the populist rhetoric of Tucker Carlson, it can sound similar, but the solutions they would propose are very different. Both left-wing and right-wing populists will use really similar rhetoric, but they'll propose drastically different solutions to the same problems when it comes to policy. Bernie Sanders' populism focused on economic justice, progressive social policy, and on the other hand, the Trump populism, the Tucker populism, targets immigrants, blames globalization, promotes an unhealthy nationalism. And so what is the overlap here is an anti-establishment rhetoric. And that has made it, unfortunately, easy for some Bernie Sanders supporters. Not me. I was a Bernie supporter. Not going to end up being tricked into supporting Trump or Tucker. But some Bernie supporters, because of the similarity of the rhetoric, have ended up drawn to Trump, even though on policy they couldn't be more different. Misinformation plays a role in this. Propaganda plays a role in this, trying to make Trump seem like the working class champion. There are similar stories. Bernie is a champion of the working class. Trump is a champion of the working class. The problem is, when it comes to Trump, it's a lie. Bernie has a 40-year public record as an elected official at all levels of government of supporting the working class. Trump has a few years of claiming to support the working class, undergirded by a lifetime of not paying workers, labor violations, and trying as a personal priority to be kept completely isolated from the working class, given his silver spoon upbringing in Manhattan and Queens. So similar rhetoric, true when it comes to Bernie, a fabricated lie when it comes to Donald Trump. And so the Bernie to Trump pipeline is a pipeline of populist rhetoric and the redirection and the hijacking of political discontent towards dramatically different solutions, depending on what is the narrative and what is the framing, and a slice of people have fallen for it. So what's the takeaway? Well, the takeaway is the importance for progressives to clearly articulate the differences between left and right-wing populism. I've been doing this for a long time, and I prefer to skip the populist rhetoric and say, hey, you know what? I'm a social democrat. It's a well-regulated form of capitalism. Here's the policy I believe in. If you believe in social democracy, if you believe in it in Sweden or in Denmark or in the United States, there is a coherent set of policy ideas there. The danger of the populist rhetoric, and I've been saying it for years, is that it is a rhetoric and not a set of policies. And that's how you end up with this slice of people that have gone Bernie to Trump, even though it makes no sense whatsoever, unless you don't really understand what's going on. We have a fantastic bonus show for you today. We'll talk about the gender gap becoming wider in terms of support for Kamala Harris versus Trump. We'll talk about the effects of Trump's new push for free IVF. And we will address in more detail the new MAGA obsession related to Kamala Harris working at McDonald's. All of those stories and more on today's bonus show. Sign up at joinpacman.com. I will see you then, and we're back tomorrow.